Okay, everyone, we'll open up. Good evening, everyone. We'll call this meeting of March 8th open. And first of all, under presentations, we have from Helen Cornwall, the water and power outages presentation. Helen, please take it away.
Thank you, Your Worship, for the opportunity to talk about emergency preparedness and being prepared for 72 hours. I've actually distributed our emergency quick reference guide to everyone that we sent out a few years ago to all homeowners, as well as the 72-hour brochure that Saskatchewan Public Safety has provided as well. And then you'll see a little pets sticker. So the purpose is this, is that anyone who has pets to put this on their front door or their window. So in the time that there's emergency, our Estevan Fire Services knows if you've got pets in the house, that not only are we going to try and save everyone in the house, but pets as well. In the time of a fire, you want to get out quickly, and sometimes people don't think about their pets. And then when we come on scene, we don't know if you have pets, but this is something they look for. So take your stickers if you do have pets. We sent this out with water bills a few years ago. Put it on there if you have an update. And please specify if it's out of the cat and the dog and the turtle and the fish and the rabbit. If it's outside of those pets, under other, put it under. If you got a goat, we learned that at the 2011 flooding, goats are pets too. And so if you have another type of animal in your house that we don't know, tick other and put it down for us. It just helps us to be better prepared when we come to your house in emergency. So you should be prepared for 72 hours. That is the minimum hours that the province has asked us to be prepared in the event that if we have a power outage, we have a tornado or a train derailment or any sort of situation, we need to be prepared for a minimum of 72 hours, because sometimes it'll take a while for our emergency workers to get to us because they first focus on the vulnerable people first. So they've said that. So every Saskatchewan resident should have an emergency plan at home in their house. It'll help you and your family know what to do in case of emergency. But not always emergencies happen when your people are home together as a family. So with that, you should also have a site where you can meet, a plan not across the street. We suggest along the street if they're children, so they don't have to cross the street, that down to neighbors, but there's a plan. If you're not home, a family member's not home, your whole group, that you have a plan in place with that. So a household plan with emergency routes, how to get to your plan, your emergency escape to get to neighboring, your meeting place, and a plan for your children if you have small children, and practice that with your children so they get comfortable with that. And people with special health needs as well, have a plan in place for them. That's really, really, really important. And the pets. And we learned that in 2011. We learned that people aren't prepared and have a plan for pets. And when we had to evacuate a portion of the city, their pets were coming with us, and we don't allow pets in our reception centers. So there had to be a plan B that we put together really, really quickly for the pets, because some pets are like a family to people. That's their children, that's their babies. And so we have to pay special attention to them as well. Another one is to have contact information that you have. Emergency information usually posted on your refrigerator. We used to have magnets that we put on, and then we ran out of the magnets, but emergency numbers are on this. This goes through many things. It goes through emotional reactions, severe weather travel, weather warnings, thunder, storms, tornadoes, blizzards, heavy rains, extreme heat, lightning, hail, flooding, hazardous material, loss of utilities, shelter in place evacuation. So it's very informative step by step to have that handy. And that can be a part of your plan as well when you need to evacuate. And we have 4 evacuation centers in the city. We have the Leisure Center north of the tracks. We have Estevan Comprehensive School. and we have Church of God, and we needed something on the south of the tracks in case something, all that got taken out. As we learned in flooding 2018, our comprehensive school, we wanted people to go there, but they couldn't get there because it was flooding. So we have St. Paul's United Church as well. And on our website, it states that, as well as our emergency routes is on there. I encourage everybody and all public to go to our website, Emergency Preparedness. It covers our emergency orders, our evacuation orders, emergency instructions, emergency kits, emergency plans, all about the EMO team. And on there lists everything you need to have a home kit. We encourage everyone to have a vehicle kit. You know Saskatchewan. You know, a few years ago, you can remember the storm that we had. There was a 10-foot drift on Highway 39 West. 126 cars spent the night stranded. So it's important to make sure that, you know, living in Saskatchewan, that weather can change on a dime, that you also have a vehicle kit. And as we learned with the 2011 flooding, make sure you have a pet kit. So how we communicate with the public is through Sask Alert. Sask Alert is a provincial alerting network, and a lot of people have it on their cell phones, and we encourage everyone to put that Sask Alert app on there. The Government of Saskatchewan's emergency public alerting system that provides critical information in real time. And why do you want that? Why do you want to put that app on your phone? Because it lets you know what the emergency is. It lets you know where it's happening. It provides information for you to stay safe, for you and your family. It advises you when the emergency is over. And the other thing is, if you're traveling in the province or out of province, that'll pick this up and let you know if there is an emergency that you need to know in that area of the city or a town or rural that you're in. So when you're traveling as a tourist, they'll know. So that's really, really important. And we do our local media and the City of Estevan's website. You know, the recent one with Perkins Street where we had the boil water advisory, we put out a Sask Alert app right away. We work quite closely with our local media to get that out. Rebecca works on getting it out with Facebook and on our page as much as we can. So we do what we can. For power outages, it's really important that we have a ready kit. You've got bottled water. You have non-perishable food. We don't want you to bring in your propanes inside your house because that can be very, very dangerous. And I know our fire chief talks about it all the time, but there's still people think that that's how they can keep warm. We work quite closely with power outages. As you know, we had that 6 to 8 hour power outage that just happened fairly recently, and it caught a lot of people by surprise because normally it's been 1 or 2 hours, but that was kind of an extended period of time. We work with SAS Power very, very closely on the length of the duration, and then we work with the people, the vulnerable people in the community that are at greatest risk, that maybe don't have generators, that live alone, that we do know, and work with them for that, to help that. And with the water, that water break was kind of unique. We've had a water break on Perkins before. That was the main transmission line in the summer. It was just further down. This time, it was the weather factors that really influenced that -50 that night. I tell you, we all froze. It was really, really cold. So the first thing we do when we see a water break is to make sure, A, that we have the parts to fix it. And if we have the parts to fix it, we're going to go ahead and fix it. But if we don't, then we'll have to set up maybe a temporary water. Now, if people are without water, what we try and do in the evening is to turn it on for a little bit till they can fill their toilets and there's bathtubs and get pails so they have it on side. We try and do that. That's not always the case. And again, with Perkins, that's much different than if we just have a residential water break. We try our best with residents in there to help our businesses and our residents. But when we have a main transmission line go like that, it affects a great part of the city. As you know, the whole south side was affected. So it was important. We were very fortunate to have the parts in place and that we worked around the clock to get it. They did it in a timely fashion. And why it took so long is when you start digging 6 feet of frost and -50 and things start freezing up on equipment, it was pretty challenging to do that. But I believe they did a record time with that. Is it an inconvenience when people are without water for 24, 48 hours? It sure is. You know, we tried to get to Hillcrest School and daycare as soon as possible to let them know so they can make provisions with that.
Okay, thank you, Helen. We've already sent this emergency quick reference guide out, right?
That is correct, Your Worship.
Okay, appreciate that, and thank you for the work that you do. I know some days if we have an emergency, you put in long hours along with our staff and employees, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Broba.
Thank you, Your Worship. Helen, thank you for the work you do. With Creighton Lodge, for example, do you have a program where businesses that, say, an apartment building or a senior housing complex, that can phone the city and find out different tips on emergency preparedness planning?
Yeah, absolutely. We take the city into 4 quadrants, and we take a look at the quadrants, the schools, nursing homes, private care homes, and we take a look at that to make sure that they're the first people we contact. Of course, Creighton Lodge was on the north side, but if that would have been the north side instead of the south side, Creighton Lodge is on our list to make sure, do you have flashlights, do you have backup? What do you need? And we work with those people.
Yeah,
we called each and every one personally. I did with all the nursing homes and everything when
Yes,
we
the
had
last
that
year.
situation at Perkins.
Yeah, and since then, Creighton Lodge actually has gotten a generator, so we were very pleased with that. And,
Wonderful.
yeah, so I just know in the past, too, that we have that kind of thing set up, so I was just wondering if that was a continuous thing that you do, or just wait and then an emergency kind of thing, just check in with them.
Well, right now, we just, Emergency Preparedness Week is the first week of May every year, and we usually go into the school systems, grade 3, but because of the pandemic this past year, we didn't, so we got to be creative this year, and we're putting our thinking caps on because it's the same, we won't be able to go into the schools. But that would be something we can target, but right now, if a situation arises, I'm calling them right now as quickly as we can.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Broba. Helen does a lot of preventative work on the safety side, and then if there's anything going on within the city, day or night, Helen will show up, make sure the job's being done safely, and everyone has their PPE, and answer any questions that may have to be answered. Okay, Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. Thanks for your presentation, Helen. Just had a question. I know at the city facilities we have lots of backup power. We have pumps that when the power goes out. Do we have a process that we follow to make sure those are working? Like, do we have a regular routine that we go through and check them on a regular basis?
Yes, we do. Actually, I check all the emergency lighting on a monthly basis in the facilities, but then per division has their own checks as well to make sure the alarm systems are running, and we're really fortunate because in some areas our alarm systems come through on the phone, but they're checked, such as, just an example, lift stations, we're checked those pumps and motors and alarms every Monday. Well, by law we have to, but yeah, nope, they are checked.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Ford.
Thanks, Your Worship. Thanks for coming. Just a quick question. Is there any program put in place right now to work with the realtors in the city to provide this pamphlet to maybe newcomers to the city so they know what our plan is as a city and what to do as newcomers?
Yeah, no, we don't, but you know what? That's a great idea, and I'll make a call tomorrow to the realtors, and we'll do that. That's wonderful, because I believe this is a really valuable piece of information, because it just doesn't say one situation. It covers everything that could potentially happen, that we could be faced with an emergency in our community or outside of our community. But that's a wonderful idea. Thank you.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Councillor Ford. That's something we've been talking about a while, the city manager and I, and that is maybe bringing some type of form of the welcome wagon back, to introduce our people or new people to the city, answer any questions, perhaps give them a basket of goods, and it's something that I think we should work at, hopefully with this council, with maybe a service organization. I think it could be a win-win. Okay, Councillor Cernak?
Thank you, Worship. Thanks for coming, Helen. I just missed, sorry, did you say we have an app that, so an alert app that
Yeah.
the city has?
Yeah, yeah, you just have to download the Sask Alert app.
Okay, Sask
It's a
Alert.
provincial app, yeah.
Okay, not too late.
And it's great not only for a community, but again, if you're traveling somewhere, that app will alert you if wherever you are, if there's a situation going on, so then you're aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
Or that we have tourists coming through Estevan as well.
Councillor
Okay.
Ford has it right here?
When we had the boiled water advisory, I put the app on, so all the community got that. And then I gave it an update, and then a termination once it's all over with.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, thank you so much for coming, Helen. We appreciate very much the job that you do. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Could we have a motion, please, to adopt the agenda as presented? Okay, Councillor Vroba, seconded by Councillor Clark. Any further questions, comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under minutes, could we have a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the council meeting held on February 22nd, 21? Thank you. Councillor Walliser, seconded by Councillor Frank. Any further questions, comments? If not, ready for the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have from the Rock and Roll Car Wash request for assistance this evening. We have Daryl Mack and Sylvain Lewin. Thank you, Daryl. Please come sit in front of the mic here and give your presentation, please.
Sylvan's up there.
Okay, Sylvain, we've got you on the big screen. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Ludwig, and thank you, council members, for letting me come tonight.
Okay.
Sorry, Mayor Ludwig.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you for having me today, and council members. Appreciate you having me here this evening. I don't know if you all know me. I know most people's faces here, but a couple I don't know personally, but most I know. My name is Daryl Mack. I'm born and raised in Estevan. As you're aware, I don't know if you've seen the letter, if you've probably seen the letter, but what we are wanting to present to bring to Estevan is a new state-of-the-art facility, which we believe will be a great benefit for Estevan. I'm the owner-operator, and my business partner lives in Edmonton, Alberta. He's the president of the company. As you all well are aware of, we've had some tough times in this end of the country for quite a few years. We purchased this land, 508 Nesbitt Drive, in the Peterson Industrial Section in 2012, with plans of bringing a multi-wash facility to Estevan. It's eco-friendly, state-of-the-art. We're bringing water recycle with it, so it's a green facility. Solar for lights. As you well know, when you're looking for people to invest into building, a business, any type of venture, they want to know about what's going on. They look at numbers. They look at every number. Buildings being built, houses being built, population. They look at everything. A lot of things people don't understand about this city is it's always been a strong place to do business. And we want to make sure somehow we can get this business to get on the ground. Sorry. We've come to this point where outside of Estevan, people don't understand how this city grows and thrives. So today, I come to you and ask what our city can do for our venture to get where we want to be. My business partner, Sylvain, has talked to the new economic developer in Estevan. They've had conversations. They've talked over what's going on in Estevan, and he knows our project. And then again, we have a hurdle. How do we get to where we want to be? Estevan is promoting business economic development. They've been advertising. It's on the websites. It's on the radio. Where's he getting us? People scared to build here? Or people don't understand what's going on down here? I'm a true believer in what goes on down here. And yes, there's a lot of it's political driven, but Estevan is not going anywhere. It's going to keep growing and growing. So today, I asked council, I asked city council, sorry, what can we do, or what can you do to help us get to the next level where we want to be? We come up with an idea, or sorry, a plan, goes back to the city to get a credit for the purchase of the land that we purchased in 2012, less taxes, reimburse Rock and Wash Estevan, in return, purchase our lot back for $1, and our return dollar go directly into our equity towards the project, and only the project, which in our eyes and financial institutional eyes looks a lot better when you're trying to buy a lot next to you. Some of you got a lot for $0 or $1, and now you got to deal with something that's worth this, but why are you not buying this one for $1 next door? We don't want, we have not given up hope on this project since 2013. Sorry, 2012 when we purchased this land. We have not given up. We've been everywhere. We've been to multiple, well, Sylvain has contacted multiple financial institutions, dealt locally with the financial institutions here, and they do not want to get involved because of what's going on in our economic times in Estevan and with what's going on in Estevan. So for me, or for us, sorry, we come to the city to see if that proposal will stand, and from there we'll deal with the city in partnership to get to where we want to be.
Okay, well, thank you, Darrell, very much for the presentation, and Sylvain as well. Councillor Vroba, you have a question.
Thank you, Worship. Mr. Mack, just a question. Are you aware of the appealing process? Because in your letter that you wrote to the city, you asked to abate your taxes, was one of your requests. So have you and your partner ever actually went through the appeal process to appeal your taxes?
Just verbal notification.
That's a good,
Sorry.
can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay? So I've been in discussion with Trina in your office, and this is exactly what we plan to do this month when we receive the new SEMA valuation. So I think there's one thing that SEMA does not account in the valuation, and they wouldn't know, is the 10 meter wide easement that we have in the smack middle of a property devalues our property and makes it more difficult for us on the construction front and increases the construction costs. So yes, we do plan to appeal this month. We have not appealed till now. Guys, I live in Edmonton, okay? And I can tell you that I've had hundreds of presentations to attract capital for the Estevan community. When I first visited the Estevan community back in 2012, I'm a farm boy from down east. I loved it, okay? And that's why, up till now, we have not given up. We hired and spent a lot of money in working with capital brokers in Alberta, in Canada, in Toronto, even in New York and the United States. Estevan is not attractive from the capital market in terms of investments. I tried working with Dwight, your previous economic developer. I've contacted Richard recently, your newest. I've talked to Doug Griffin at 13 Ways. You know, we come to you tonight asking for help because we have exhausted our resources. So we have two options. We become part of the statistics and we go bankrupt, or we work with you, which I understand is part of your culture and working in partnership with, you know, the entrepreneurs, and we find a solution. And I'm hoping it's the latter. And I apologize if my voice is a little off. I just came out of a surgery an hour ago. So we didn't come in front of you tonight with gun blazing, and I'm hoping that everybody got a copy of the letter that we put together to explain our case. We came to you tonight because we're out of options. We need help. And we don't know if Saskatchewan has business incentives at a provincial level. I don't know if you are aware of some business incentive that we can, you know, leverage that can help us to get across this finish line. We still believe in this project. We absolutely believe, to the benefit for the community, that this project would bring, being a green environment and really good for the environment. We even considered, you know, working with an investment bank at a NewCo, at a HoldCo level, and then we can roll up 5 to 10 rock and wash locations across the nation. And we thought we had a relationship lined up in April of last year with an investment bank out of Boston. Then the pandemic showed up, and they stopped. They completely stopped. The NewCo level was an attractive proposition for them because it was not in a small market. There was a rollout. There was an expansion plan. For these guys, their check size, it was a better fit. But because of the pandemic, they completely stopped to focus on their internal investment portfolio. So in the meantime, we ran out of money. We bought some land, we raised some capital, we had some working capital, we had some soft costs. We had everything lined up in our budget. But that was for a 2 to 3 year plan, not a 9 years later, still obviously carrying costs without the ability to bring in new capital market investors to the community. So I commend you for trying to stimulate the economy, and now obviously with Western Economic Development and 13 Way, I really hope that it's going to make a difference for you. But right now, the promotion of the Glen Peterson industrial lots adjacent to us at $1, it is hurting us. Okay, because we're there. We're in that same community or that same industrial park. So the underwriters at the financial institution right now, they do not consider the capital that we invested in this land. They don't even look at it. It's not even being considered because they know that a piece of dirt equivalent without a 10-meter easement adjacent to ours is selling for $1. With obviously, you know, some of the mandates that goes along with it, get it. But the underwriters are not considering the $600,000 that would pay for this lot. So we're in a really tough spot. Not only we're having difficulties attract capital investment to the Estevan community the way the economics are and the building permits on unemployment, etc. On the other hand, we have an asset that's being completely devalued in the eyes of the financier because of what's happening in terms of trying to stimulate the economy with a 10% additional lots. You understand where we're coming from? So we're coming to you trying to find a solution for this and deal with the taxes that keep accumulating at the same time. And yes, we'll hire a third-party company, guys. We'll get a third-party unbiased valuation on the land as is. Okay, in this economic climate, we can't sell this land. We tried working with a local realtor. We can't sell this land. There's no buyers. I know I'm preaching to the choirs. So I'm hoping we can find a solution. The solution may not be tonight. But if we don't work together, the local investors that we have obviously are not going to be really happy with the community, and it's just going to turn ugly. And you know, we could have years ago said we had 180 days, building clause in our contract, and we're way beyond that, and we're giving up. Give us our money back. We could have done that in 2014, 2015. We could have done that at any given time. Instead, we kept injecting more money, more efforts in working and trying to find capital investors to find a solution. And I can show you invoices, contract, engagement agreement with all those capital guys that are listed in that letter. You can have all of that as evidence. It's factual. So we have exhausted our resources. So we need help. And we're hoping that you guys can help not only first and foremost on the taxation of that piece of dirt, but two, an introduction. That's all we ask, an introduction. We'll share the business plan, and I'm at the point right now that I said to Daryl, I have a patent on this design, okay? I'll share a patent for the city of Estevan. I'll share my proprietary technology from a POS standpoint. I'm okay with 5% equity left. I don't care. I just want a solution to deal with this once and for all.
Okay, thank
So
you.
I'm prepared.
Well, go ahead, finish up, Sylvain, sorry.
Well, all I was going to say is I'm prepared to relinquish a heck of a lot in what I already have investment into this brand to make this happen in the community. And the equity on the back end, how much I'm left with, I don't care. I'll give it to whomever comes in to help us as a partner. I'll give it to Daryl. I'd rather do that than see this become a statistics.
Okay, thank you, Sylvain. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Frank.
I just wanted to ask, just from the economic development standpoint, what is the estimated cost to build the project, and how many full-time employees are you looking at having at this when it's up?
So I heard what's the cost of the project, and I missed the last part, sorry.
How many employees, Sylvain? How many employees?
Yeah, so the project is scalable. Currently, in today's economic time, we would not build what we already have obtained a foundation permit with back in 2013, 2014. It would not be realistic because we were looking at a $7+ million back then with an automatic truck wash. In today's environment, that is not realistic. We have to scale back. So there's not going to be an automatic truck wash. We're not going to have, 16 self-wash bays. We're all going to put an express wash automatic. We're going to put 10 self-wash bays, and we'll start with one truck bay with the caveat that once the economy turns around, we can add a second because we have the room on our lot to do that. So this project right now would be a $2 million project. We would work with Frame Tech is what we have in mind. Originally, we were going to go with a precast concrete manufacturer outside of the city. But right now, we would work with local manufacturer Frame Tech to decrease costs. It's a very high moisture content. It's a really harsh environment. So a metal tilt-top building turns into a quote-unquote rust bucket 7 to 8 years down the road. That's why we normally use precast. But we have to adapt market condition and economic conditions, so we were looking at about a couple $1 million.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Frank.
Sorry, and then my second question was, how many full-time employees will there be when it's operating, even just day one?
Correct. So 7 to 8 part-time and full-time. Daryl will obviously be the director of operation running the day-to-day. We also have the option to put a detailing division in our facility, which obviously is way more labor intense.
Okay, does that answer your questions, Councillor Frank? Okay, Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Worship. So have you been working actively with the Economic Development Committee to this point to try and find ways to make this business happen in Estevan? So for the last 5 years?
Oh, yes. I'll start and then I'll let Sylvain finish. We have dealt with Dwight when he first came to Estevan. I had a meeting with Dwight. Sylvain had several emails transferred.
Well, then only.
And currently, he has talked with Kevin. Is it Kevin? Sorry.
Oh, you need your mic on, Daryl.
Yeah,
Okay.
Rick,
Rick.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, Sylvain has been in contact with both current and former economic developer in Estevan, yes, and with the city.
Daryl, if I may jump in, more than in contact, in fact, I spent a lot of time working with Dwight. He introduced me to the Vietnamese group that he met with, Kevin, out of Saskatoon. So I spent some time with Kevin to identify if his mandate of bringing investment from overseas would fit our business model. Unfortunately, it did not work. Dwight did not have any other quote-unquote solutions for me at the time. I did talk to Marion Scott of the Sunrise Community Future out of Regina, so that's another avenue. And recently, I have been in contact with Richard, 13 Ways. I talked to Chief Bonnie at Ocean Man First Nation. We offered joint venture partnership with local entrepreneurs. One of them has gone bankrupt since. So, the list of what we've attempted to salvage this opportunity is very extensive outside of contacting capital groups.
So you went in, though, for looking at building a $7+ million business, right? Originally.
Original plan, yes.
Original plan. So how much in capital have you generated to date to proceed with your business plan in Estevan?
We had $1 million. We had $1 million, which would be fine under the normal economic conditions when you can go to BDC and typically obtain to 80 to 90% on your loan to cost.
Okay,
It's just that, with the economic shifting, as you can appreciate, the underwriters at the banks they've changed. They've changed as well. So the underwriting, instead of issuing 80 to 90% loan to cost, now they want to see in a community of a smaller market under the current condition an absolute minimum of 50% skin in the game.
okay, thank you, Sylvain. Any further questions, Councillor Broba?
Not at this time.
Okay, Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'm just going to be somewhat, I don't see an appetite for the city taking a partnership within this, at this time. Our job is to try to facilitate if there's some way that we can, if there was some way that there was investors that, we can put you together. But I honestly don't see a way that the council can do that. Obviously, since 2013, times have changed, markets have changed, and that. But I guess one thing about coming forward, Daryl, is hopefully there's a white knight out listening, and that your story will be out there that this is still a project that needs to go. But personally, I don't see how the city would be an investor into this. But
it's not just a city of investment. It's the return on the price of the land to make it more attractive for us. As Sylvain said, our land at a bank is worth the same as the one next door, $1. It's back in the day, yes, it was worth $563,000 plus the taxes, but now to request the return on the tax dollar and keep it invested in the city and the project and not invest anywhere else is what the question is.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Clark, and then Councillor.
Absolutely. The prices have changed within the community, and what's happening here. Absolutely, that was the price at the time, and that's what it was. And we are 8 years later, and the price has changed and the times have changed. But that's just where we're at today, I guess. But I guess I'm not sure that helps it either, but that's probably where we're at as far as the value of most properties in town aren't the same as they were in 2013 and 12.
And Councilor Clark, if I may jump in, we are not looking for the city to become an investor. That is not why we're here this evening whatsoever. We're hoping that perhaps the city, through your network, you have some contact that you can introduce us to that perhaps can become part of the solution. That's the one thing. I agree with you that the economics and the value of the properties have shifted since 2013. The building permit clearly indicates that the activities are not the same. That said, And again, this is the last resource for us. We don't want to play the clause XYZ in our contract says that we've got 180 days, we didn't meet 180 days, and you have to refund us the difference, without the deposit. We're here saying that would be the last recourse for us to do that. We haven't done that to date, but for us to access $500,000 by using this clause, it's $500,000 that goes towards construction.
Okay, thank you, Sylvain. Councillor Frank, and then Councillor Ford.
So then I guess I'll ask the next two fairly ugly questions. The first one, these are ones that have been kind of asked just to city management to provide us information since your letter came to us just on Thursday or whatever. The first one is just regarding the contract itself. The clause that you show is not something that we've ever seen in any of our city contracts. Our city clerk wasn't able to present it to us, so it's something, nothing you need to respond to today, but something I think we would like for you to send the full contract to us, because Appendix B is not something that's ever been agreed to for any purchase lot, as far as I don't want to speak out of turn there, but perhaps His Worship can say that. And then the next question, which is a little bit uglier, is your tax arrears that currently exist. Your taxes are behind, you're now into enforcement. And so just kind of asking why that has gotten to that point without coming to us beforehand.
Well, the first part, Daryl, I can jump in. The first part is easy. We'll provide you the original email that we received from Rob Dennis, I believe.
Yep.
His last name?
Yep.
I'll be happy to forward you the original email from Dennis that I received with the original copy of the contract. And on a side note, you will notice in that email that there's supposed to be a Schedule A attachment with an image of the lot with information about the easement, which we never received at time of purchase. So keep that in mind. We found that later that we were dealing with a 10-meter easement. So I'll be happy to send the original email to Judy, if that works for you guys.
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Then the second part of your question is the taxes. Well, the taxes, we're broke. We ran out of money. We ran out of working capital. That's as transparent as I can be. That's why in the letter you read that we've been working for the last 3 years with several different capital group brokers that were on a retainer in hope to get some liquidity injection. Not only that we can deal with the taxes, but we can get this across the finishing line and have some liquidity to qualify for the construction loan under the revised construction building. So one option would be that we work together on that 180 days, and that 180 days is real. You'll see in the contract. So if we work on that 180 days, you can subtract what we owe to the city and the community in terms of taxes and arrears. Daryl and I would be fine with that, okay? We're not trying to run away from anything here. We're trying to find a solution. Two, when we get the new appraisal, because my understanding is the appraisals come out every 4 years from SAMA. So we're gonna hire the same appraisal company that we hired way back when out of Regina, and we'll say, look, we need a lot appraisal. And then we'll compare the two. And then we'll appeal it. If the two don't align, we'll follow the process and work with Trina and your team, and we'll appeal the valuation of what's being proposed, considering that the lots adjacent to ours are selling for $1. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but that is hurting us. The fact that the property equivalent to ours, without the 10-meter easement, adjacent to us sells for $1 right now for a commercial buyer, it is not helping our case in any way, shape, or form. It's making it worse for us. And again, I'm not blaming you guys. I applaud you for thinking outside the box to attract businesses to the community. That is actually a good move on your part. It's just that we are dealing with a very abnormal situation here, right? The fact that we bought from the city back then, we're not selling the lots at $1, obviously, right? We were not dealing with the same economic fundamentals back then that we're dealing now. You adapted, and obviously we're trying to do the same.
Okay, thank you, Sylvain. Councillor Ford, then Councillor Vroba. And then Councillor Cernak.
Great, thanks, Your Worship. Thanks for coming. My first question is, when was the first time that Affinity Credit Union rejected your construction financing? Was it immediately in 2013 after you purchased this land, or was it afterwards? When was the first time they said no to you?
I believe it was December 24th, 3:30 in the afternoon, 2014.
Okay, thank you.
Christmas.
This is very, very specific.
Sorry, but
thank you. No, I
that's the
appreciate
truth.
that. No,
That's the truth. I'm sorry. It made my Christmas, yes.
perfect.
Yeah.
When this land was purchased, when you purchased it, how long did you expect this project to take? How long was that $7 million project going to get its actual boots on the ground and providing for our community?
From,
It's a very good- it's a very
oh,
good
sorry.
question on your part. I guess, I think it's worth mentioning that when Daryl approached me to partner with him on this venture, guys, I had a site in Edmonton, okay? So this is not my first construction, this is not my first site, so to speak. So I can tell you that a project of this size has a 10 months construction cycle, okay? And I can tell you that in Edmonton, you know, it took me longer to obtain the development permit. It's just a different community. However, I can also tell you that I can obtain 85% home to cost in Edmonton by going to BDC or going to some other financial institution. That is not the case in Estevan. We first approached the local credit union. If anyone that we thought could work with us on the financing, we thought it would obviously be a local bank that obviously understands the community way better than a bank in Edmonton. We got turned down. They were not comfortable with the way the economic were going. They were not comfortable with the size of the project, the novelty of the project, with the water recycling components, with the net zero power consumption, all of it. Right? It was too big. The community had never seen anything like this. They had never seen anything like it. That said, they were also working with underwriters in Toronto. The way their internal process is that the final decision was not made in Estevan. The final decision was made, and correct me if I'm wrong, Daryl, but the people in Toronto were the one making the decision.
Yeah, the project was beyond the limit for Estevan to finance the construction loan. So it went to a consulting firm in Toronto, and they made the decision in Toronto for Estevan.
Okay.
Then again, as I stated before, they don't understand Estevan. They look at numbers. That's all they look at.
Okay, thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Sylvain. Did you have any other questions, Councillor Ford? Okay, Councillor Vrova, then
Thank you, Your
Councillor
Worship.
Cernak.
I was going to say, Daryl and Sylvain, I used to be a secretary for a board of appeals for the our Estevan, and actually, in order to appeal your taxes, you have to be in good standing. So I would recommend, I'm not saying that being cheeky or anything, I seriously mean your taxes need to be paid up in order to appeal your taxes. So I would recommend you guys take care of that first. And the other thing is, I think you guys need to continue to work with our ECDEV committee. I think that they've got a lot of great ideas, and I think maybe there's some incentives there that you guys can take advantage of. If you have $1 million in place right now, then you're on your way to hopefully getting more investors, and I think that's probably what the bank wants to see too. Even the people that buy a lot from us for $1, there's many, many conditions to meet. The build has to start, the employees need to be there. They're not just getting $1 lot and done. They can't sell that lot for, I believe it's 5 years after it's been put in place. There's restrictions on it. It's been 9 years that you've had this lot, and I think that the only way to move forward is we work with you with the ECDEV committee and try and find a way to help you guys find the investors, the way the ECDEV committee is working with every other person that comes forward to try and find investors. So like Councillor Clark said, I agree with him. Hopefully somebody's listening tonight, and I believe if I know anything about the Rock and Car Wash, it's similar. Is there one in Regina, Daryl, or is it similar?
No.
There isn't?
Nowhere.
So maybe it's Suds. Is it Suds in Regina that you can drive in, get your car washed inside and out? I heard about this venture when you first started. I thought it was an excellent idea. And I do hope that you guys have somebody out there right now that's hearing you that says, this is an excellent idea and we need to invest in it, because that's what you need right now is investors. And again, speaking of tax abatement, stuff like that, I think it has to come out of the ECDEV committee. Those are the people that we've put in charge of helping businesses like yourself to try and make it work in Estevan. I keep hearing that there's another oil boom coming our way. Let's hope it's true. Let's hope the dollars again begin to flow in the business community and the oil community, and everybody gains more confidence in the city of Estevan with the other great things that the ECDEV has coming down the pipe. But for now, I'd also like to table this discussion until you guys have a chance, until you have a chance to look at that agreement, and until we can just look at a few more things. If that's okay with everybody, I'd like to
Yeah,
put that
well,
motion.
that'll give us the opportunity to take it to the ECDEV board as well. But, yeah, I guess before you make that motion, could we listen to
Yeah.
Councillor Cernan? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Cernan.
Thank you, Worship. Thanks for coming, guys. Just what attracted you to purchase the land prior to having financing in place? And kind of, I guess the question is, what attracted you to that land?
Great question. It all starts with location, okay? One, it's a industrial paved section of the city, okay? It's on a corner, it's on the Kensington, Nesbitt intersection. Easy access, right? 4-lane. Walmart's right next door, you know? Like, I mean, you have to look at, you know, like there's, the hotels are there, right? Commercial accounts are right there, right? The oil field's right there. Everything is, it's easy access to the city, anybody in the city. It's not, you know, you got to go down a gravel road to get to it. You know, you got to go out of the country, out in the bypass. The question being, why didn't you go on the bypass? We don't want to be on the bypass. We want to be in the city. We want anybody to come to there, not just highway traffic, you know. We want to be seen. We don't want to be stuffed away in a corner somewhere. Commercial property is very hard to get street exposure on a project our size. It's not there, right? Who knows, like, where the derrick has been taken down back in the day? If we would have known that was going on, that's a prime location.
Yeah.
But it wasn't available at the time, right? But it's the exposure, you know, you see it from the road, right? We're not tucked back in the corner somewhere, right? Access to the big stuff, right? Cars, pickups are easy to get into any facility, but you got to look at helping out the big trucks, the semis, the Super Bs, the service rigs, anything big, farm equipment. And for us, that was our easiest access into the city. And from what I've seen through dealing with Rob over the years on the city's future plan, is the access road continuing off of Nesbitt, going straight east, and possibly the road turning at Nesbitt and, where it comes up and goes in behind Home Hardware. I've seen the city's future plans to have a road back there to get the other side of it into the industrial park. I've been shared that information. I've seen the, you know, this is what the city wants to do. And like, I'm not going to repeat, but it's the only location. Or we move one lot over. You know, we did look at the one next to AVU, audio video there, where the piling's in the ground. I don't know what hotel franchise that was, but for the price when we bought our land, no, we'll just go across the street for almost half the price.
Okay.
Right, but it's a location, you know, it's street view.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Frank, you had your hand up yet?
Yes, sorry, and I just wanted to say I agree with Councillor Vroba. I think obviously we need to just get a little bit more information through our city clerk and city management team just on the appendix, and that means we definitely need to table this conversation tonight because we need to have all the validity settled there. But I do want to also request on top of that, not just the information we've asked for, but also that, yes, I agree this go to the Economic Development Board and that the business plan be shared. Just obviously, you know, the ECDEV board needs to be thorough through all of these businesses and things like that. This is it's a very neat project. I really want to kind of learn a little bit about it, but also just it is it's about 7 times what any of the other car washes in town are, right, in terms of employment. So something we kind of want to get all of that information on, and then I think the Economic Development Board can kind of give some recommendations for us so that when we make a decision, we kind of have a very large picture of what this looks like too. So, and
Okay.
pros and cons, so yeah.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Frank. Go ahead, Councillor Walliser.
Thank you, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
What I take from this tale is that it happened over a very long period of time, and we really are kind of at the end point. You feel like there's no options left available to you, and that's why you've chosen to bring it to council. And what I want to say to other businesses is that there is support available that the other councillors have outlined, and that hopefully for the people that follow behind you, they're receiving that support that you're asking for in year 1 or year 2, that they can learn about the SAMA appeal process earlier, that you're not, 8 or 9 years into your assessment of your property value before you have the tools to appeal the process. So just really encouraging people to get out and find the supports that the city has available. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Walliser. Councillor Grova, you wanted to make a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we direct Rock and Roll Car Wash. Sorry, it's Rock and Wash. I keep calling it Rock and Roll Car Wash. Rock and Wash.
Thank you for
Yes, sorry. And I think that's because back in 2012, when I first heard about it, that's what I had in my head. And I was looking forward to this project, and I still hope this project does move forward. I think it's a great concept, and I hope that someone does hear this. But I think for today, we need to table the discussion and ask that the Economic Development Board assist in whatever way can be with you gentlemen. And I think the Economic Development Board will be the ones that ask for your business plan or ask to see what you have and where you want to move forward and see what options are.
And we'll also be talking to our people as well.
Yes, yes.
Okay, have we got a seconder? Okay, Councillor Ford. Any further discussion? Ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming tonight. And we have a few places to go, and then we'll be getting back to you.
Okay, thank you very much for having me.
Yep, no problem. Thank you both. Thank you, Sylvain.
I'd like to thank Judy for coordinating, and I appreciate the opportunity this evening. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you again, Darrell.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Yep. Okay, moving forward, under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have the GFL cart report for January 21. What's the wish of council? Have we got a motion to accept? Okay, Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Cernick. Any further questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under written reports of committees, from the Estevan Public Library, the board minutes of February 16th. Could we have a motion to accept those, please? Thank you. Councillor Walliser, seconder. Councillor Frank. Any further questions, comments? If not, ready for the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under written reports of committees, we have from the Estevan Art Gallery and Museum, the minutes of January 7th, 21, and February 11th of 21. We have a motion. Thank you, Councillor Grova, seconded by Councillor Clark. Any further questions or comments? Did you guys get to bring up about the murals on the side of buildings? Councillor Ford?
That wasn't at the art, well, the art gallery maybe too, but I brought it up in the Arts Council Committee, and they were going to look into it.
Oh, good. Maybe you can also bring it up, if you would, at the next meeting, Councillor Clark, and see what Amber has to say. I don't know if she was involved last time with those murals around the city. She might have been. Okay. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, next, under executive reports, we have the IT report, recording options for the city council meetings. What's the wish of council on this one? And we have our IT expert here tonight, James. Thank you, James, for coming tonight. It's pretty self-evident. Thank you, James, for the options. What's the wish of council? Councillor Felizer.
I am not tech savvy. Opening my iPad is a challenge. So if you can just kind of explain why this is not as simple as just filming it on your phone and streaming it onto Facebook Live. What is the cost of needing that streaming service? How do the options kind of work together? I do like the fact that if nothing else, we can at least have the access video posted at a later time so that there is access to those without access. But if you can just give a little bit more of the technical, because even as simple as you typed it out for us, I still don't really understand. Thank you.
No, that's a fair question. I don't know entirely where the question originally stemmed from. I believe there was some questions being asked about what options are available. I simply drew up a couple of them, and you're absolutely right in the sense that we don't have to do anything. That is one of the scenarios I posed. However, other cities and maybe yourselves would be potentially looking at what other options are available to take more control over things. And that's perfectly fine. It's just a matter of what options you're available to do. So to answer your question, yeah, as you can see here, there's the one scenario from, spending a good amount of money, in my opinion, to doing absolutely nothing and continuing with what we're doing right now, which Access has agreed to, provide that video to us at a later time to post after the fact. That's perfectly fine. I'm not a proponent to one or the other. I'm just making sure that there's a lot of options available to you. Did that answer your question?
Not really. Sorry. It seems very expensive to me when the goal is just to make it more accessible, which seems like a simple request, and I can tell from the data that you've put together, it is not a simple request. I don't understand what that $11,500 is paying to allow the city to do.
Yes, and you're specifically looking at the one solution that I've, or the scenario that I outlined, outlining the allowing Access Communications to do exactly what they're doing right now. However, we take it one step further and provide this link, essentially taking the video feed and putting it live to anybody, anytime, live. That it does require infrastructure, both equipment here on site to take that video feed, connect it to a service, which is then broadcasting on our behalf. They take on all of the connections. The connections don't happen right inside of the city here or anything like that. Other cities have done the same thing in the sense that it's a backup in case Access Communications is unable to attend, camera malfunction, anything like that, which I don't think is very common, that's for sure. But, it is something that other cities have looked at, and that's why I brought it up as a scenario. That's not a cost that, I was familiar with until digging into it, and this is what a lot of municipalities in Canada have done. So that's one of the solutions that I provided.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, basically, it's you getting brand new equipment, which why would we when, we are able to use the equipment that's already there, or leave as is, or the hybrid approach, pay for the subscription, and then we can stream at our own leisure whenever we want. Okay, hopefully that's explained. Councillor Groba, then Councillor Frank.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I actually like option 2, scenario 2, partly because when we did live stream it with Access, one of the challenges that Access had, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe what happened was when you live stream, they had to have an employee down at Access Communication, so they would come in, live stream. They only ever had 1 or 2 people pick up. A lot of people want to record, watch at their own leisure later on. So I don't think spending the $11,500 monthly or annually, I shouldn't say monthly, annually, is a really great approach at this time. I think what we need to do is pick scenario 2, leave as is, hosting a video on our YouTube city page, and maybe watch the traffic. If we start getting a couple thousand hits, even a couple hundred hits, that would be impressive. And then we can maybe look at that. But for now, I think Access is doing a phenomenal job. I think it also promotes people to get access into their homes and support the community channel for all the great things they do for our community. And it also, for the people like myself that have SaskTel, we can still access it on our city page. So anyways, I'd like to hear what everyone else has to say, but my vote right now would be scenario 2.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vroba. You're suggesting they're not beating down the doors to watch us? You're saying we have 5 people and 2 of them are mothers? Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm going to tell you, all of the Access subscribers, probably 70% of them do watch us, because I would say 100% of the people that get Access, it is the Channel 7 that is the big, bright, shining star that they all want. Again, with Creighton Lodge, we have 50 residents that live there, 46 apartments, and I would say 38 of them have Access. And we subscribe to Access in our lounge for those that don't, just so they can watch Community Channel, because for anyone that doesn't know, at I believe 6:30 Saturday nights, Pokerama is where you'll watch Access Communications. So definitely I am saying that they should get Access so more people can watch us.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vroba, for explaining that. Councillor Frank, and then Councillor Ford, did you have your hand up? Okay.
Well, first off, I just want to say what a perfect opportunity, and Robert and Roberta are smiling under their masks to say thank you to Access Communications, because I have worked for both communications companies in this city, and only one of them has been here pretty much as long as I've been alive. So thank you for doing this for free, not costing citizens anything to give them this information. I too agree. I think at this point in time, I really appreciate it, and I like the idea of live streaming, but I agree at this point we aren't even posting them online at all right now. So even though option 2 is leave it as it is actually still a big upgrade from where we've been. I think a smart move on our part would be go forward with getting the videos a couple days later up onto a YouTube channel. People can then access it, and we can watch it from there and continue to improve. I think the biggest reason this question, as our IT manager, maybe wasn't aware, it was asked is just as in trying to be more transparent to our members in our community. How do we make sure that they can watch this no matter what? So I would say that that's perfectly reasonable. So.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Frank, and I agree. Access does a tremendous job. Councillor Ford?
Thanks, Your Worship. I agree. Actually, Councillor Frank kind of said what I was going to. I agree with option 2. Thank you to James for putting in the work to find us option 1, and how he's like, oh my gosh, I did all this work. But I think that, maybe we need to be better with, once this does go up on YouTube, maybe we need to be better just about marketing it. Because there are a lot of people that do ask me, well, where can I watch this now? Because we have all promised that, we're going to be more accountable and you can find out what we're doing. And now we're like, well, but it's difficult to find us. So maybe just we need to up our marketing approach of how to find us on those YouTube videos or on our Facebook page, so everybody can actually go and watch, even if it is a couple days later, because that information still is important in there.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ford. That's a good point. We can talk to our marketing group, and we can talk to, our communications people about that as well. Absolutely. Go ahead, Councillor Beliza.
I do want to echo what Councillor Frank said, that currently there is no way outside of Access to view these meetings, so people do rely heavily on our media team to give that information to them. So option 2 is a big step forward in that if you miss the meeting, if you don't catch it on Access, you do have that record available online.
Okie doke. So do we have a motion to move forward? Councillor Frank.
Yes, I will make the motion that we leave our internal systems as is, and then use the video provided by Access Communications for a YouTube channel that we would then do some marketing through our own internal.
Okay, and that will be scenario 2, leave as is, and we'll try to get it out a little better. Okay? Thank you. Have we got a seconder for that? Okay, Councillor Vroba. Any further comments, questions? If not, ready for the question. All in favor? Carried. Okay, there you go, James. Thank you so much for your efforts in this regard. And you have a good evening. And you're more than welcome to stay until the very end, but I know you have other things you may have to do. Okay, thanks again. Under executive reports again, building official, building permit report for January 21. Could we get a motion, please, for that? Councillor Cernick, seconded by Councillor Frank. Any further questions, comments? If not, ready for the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under executive reports, we have from the water treatment manager, water quality report for January of 21. Could we have a motion for that, please? Councillor Walliser, seconded by Councillor Ford. Any further questions or comments? If not, Councillor Verova.
I just wanted to say, and I know Helen Fornwell spoke about it earlier with the water breaks, we have had a lot of water breaks lately, but our crews have done a phenomenal job. So I just want to again say a huge thank you, because I live on Jubilee Place, and so I'm in the Hillcrest area. And when the Perkins water break happened, like Helen said, it was extremely cold, and they worked all night long. So again, kudos to our team, and also we are all in compliant again. So that's excellent news for our water. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Verova. We have great staff and great employees, and they do a great job for us when we're safely home in our houses. So thank you for that. All in favor? Carried. Next, under executive reports, we have the fire reports for February of 21. Could we have a motion for that, please? Councillor Clark, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Walliser. Any further questions or comments? If not, ready for the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, under introduction of bylaws, we have bylaw 2021-2036, amending the cannabis bylaw to include the bid area. First reading. Councillor Frank.
Sorry, Your Worship, and I'm not sure the proper protocol to doing this. I should have normally asked beforehand, but City Clerk, I own a property in this area, the new proposed area. Would it be wise of me to call conflict of interest? Or is it not necessary?
That's up to you.
Well, the final decision will be
up to me, but
are you looking at a pecuniary interest?
Well, you know,
are you looking at selling cannabis?
We already have
Councillor
papers. No, I'm certainly not, so it doesn't really affect me. I guess it's...
If it was a more condensed area, like 3 houses on one block, I think that would be a little bit different. This is an entire bid area of 3 blocks.
You know what, just since I have to question it, I'm just going to call it because it's safer, as I see Councillor Verova saying that's the right way to do it. No, you can't. I'll call conflict of interest because I know my fellow councillors will do a good job either way, so just to be transparent.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Frank. Let it be known that Councillor Frank is leaving the room, and he knows that Councillor Verova would squeal on him, so he's leaving. Oh, he's not leaving the room. You have to leave the room, my friend.
Sorry.
That way you have no influence because everyone's scared of you. Okay, thank you. Okay, so what's the wish of council for first reading? Have we got a motion for bylaw 2021-2036, amending the cannabis to include the bid area? Councillor Verova, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Clark, thank you. And at this, we won't have questions. We wait for second reading. So all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Trudy, would you please let Councillor Frank back in?
And he can watch the video to find out what happened.
Okay, let it be noted that Councillor Frank is back in council chambers.
That was quick.
Okay. Did you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Next.
Okay, thank you. Under public hearings and reports, we have none this evening. Under giving notice, I'm happy to give the International Women's Day proclamation. And thanks to Councillor Walliser, we're all wearing purple tonight, so thank everyone for listening. She reminded us about that, so appreciate that. So proclamation, International Women's Day. whereas International Women's Day is March 8th, an opportunity to reflect on the progress made towards achieving gender equality and celebrate the acts of courage and determination by individuals who have played an extraordinary role in advancing gender equality in their communities. The beginning of International Women's Day, IWD, traced back to early 20th century. In fact, I believe it's 110th anniversary today. That's pretty good for this old guy to remember that, Councillor Wallies. Anyway, traced back to the early 20th century, emerging from the activities of labor movements in North America and Europe, and reflecting a growing call for women to participate equally in society. My goodness, it was as late as, what, the 50s before women got to vote. Is that not true? Something like that. And whereas the first International Women's Day was observed on March 19th, 1911 in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland. That day, more than 1 million women and men showed their support by participating in public events. In the years that followed, other countries began to observe and celebrate this day. And whereas the United Nations recognized 1975 as International Women's Year and began celebrating IWD on March 8th, later adopting a resolution designating March 8th as International Women's Day. And whereas today, International Women's Day, a day of unity, celebration, reflection, advocacy, and action, is celebrated in countries around the world. Be it therefore resolved, I, Roy Ludwig, Mayor of the City of Estevan, do hereby proclaim March 8th, 2021 as International Women's Day in the City of Estevan, and ask our citizens to recognize the same. Could we have a motion, please, accepting this proclamation? Councillor Walliser, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Ford. Any questions, comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. And we're proud to say that 45% of our employees, and I already mentioned this, are women, and we're proud of the fact of the good work that they do for us. And now half of our present council are women. So I think in our own small part, the City of Estevan is doing what they can to promote women, not only in the workplace, but in the political arena. And as you can see, our women here on this council do a fantastic job. Okay. Yeah, no problem. So moving forward, motions from committee. We have none this evening. Consideration of bylaws. We'd like to this evening give bylaw 2021-2035, bylaw to amend penalty and discounts, second and third reading. Now, the main reason we're doing that this evening is for the ones under $10 at discretion. Right, City Clerk, we can put into abeyance. Okay, so I will ask at this time for bylaw 2021-2035, bylaw to amend penalty and discounts, second reading at this time. Councillor Walliser, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Clark. Any questions or comments? This is second reading, so if you have any questions, comments, please give them at this time. No? Okay, ready for the question? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now I will ask for third reading and adoption for use of bylaw 2021-2035 to amend penalty and discounts. Councillor Frank, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Cernick. All in favor? Carried. Thank you so much. Inquiries, Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just had one person talk to me regarding the 2021 assessments, since this is a reassessment year with SAMA. They were wondering if maybe we could say when those assessments are being mailed out. I told them probably within the next month or so.
Well, that's a very good question. We've been talking to Trina, and maybe Trudy can help us tonight. But Sama, they were supposed to have this done in May, and then June, and then September, and then December, and then January, and then February, and we are still waiting with bated breath. We've asked our minister, Minister Carr, to help us out. I don't know how much longer. City Treasurer, have you got anything to say?
No, just what you said.
It's frustrating. It really is.
Yeah.
And
so
I don't know the reason for it. I can't answer. I don't know.
we may have to let them know that we'll do the same with their bill. When we do with taxes, when people are late, we start to apply penalties. So we could maybe do that. But on a serious note, when people do get their reassessments, I highly recommend you take a look at it. Sometimes there are mistakes. Again, it could be square footage. It could be the amount of outbuildings. It could be a lot of different things. And so take a look at your assessment. If you don't think it's right, don't just get mad and throw it to the side and then pay your taxes and be mad the entire year. Go through the assessment process and make sure that your taxes are correct. So that's all.
Thank you, Councillor Broba.
Thank you.
And City Manager, what are a couple of the things we're hearing they may be changing on the assessment this year? Aren't they changing the values somewhat?
Your Worship, the only thing I noted is they were looking at changing the taxable value on commercial property.
Taking it down, right?
Taking it down similar to what residential properties are.
Around 85%?
Yeah, I believe that's what it's going to be. And I think, from my understanding, with other cities, they're talking about mid-April for the final assessments.
Okay, well, we'll wait patiently, I guess. Thank you, City Manager. Okay, Councillor Clark.
Thanks, Your Worship. I had a concern raised on the west end of King Street, the long stretch just before you get to the hospital, about the speed, and with spring coming and lots of walking traffic, bikes on there. What is the process to put one of those signs up that shows what speed they're going in that area? Is that through the traffic? Or? Yeah,
what we can do, we can put a request in, Councillor Clark, to the Traffic Committee. The Chief of Police sits on there. Then he will take it to the Police Board with a recommendation. And then we can, from there, Norm is also on there, Norm Mack, then we can give direction to get the necessary signage put up.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I do think it's kind of a narrow street, and it's kind of awkward to walk along there or ride your bikes along there, and the traffic does sometimes get going a little faster. So that's all I have tonight. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Walliser, please.
No inquiries tonight, Your Worship.
None this evening? Okay, thank you. Councillor Ford.
I also have nothing tonight, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cernak.
Nothing as well tonight.
Okay, thank you. We've exhausted everyone tonight.
Nothing as well, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Well, I just wanted to bring up, you've all heard of the plane crash. We've got the monument, in recognition of the 1946 plane crash and the 21 airmen that lost their lives. We're looking at putting a plaque up now, and this is on the way not to Woodlawn, but Boundary Dam, where the Boundary Dam is and the campsite there. On the first curve, looking toward the dam itself, they're looking at probably 15, 20 feet off the roadway. If we can round up a huge rock, they're already getting the plaque made. The plaque will be 4 feet by 4 feet. So we need a rock with a face 5 by 5 or 6 by 6, but probably 5 by 5 or bigger. So I don't know if anyone knows. I haven't even seen a rock that big out at the mine. But if anyone knows a rock that size, we could probably get a trucking company to place it and then get this plaque put on top. They'd like to do it this summer. I've already talked to Terry Keating at DRM, and he suggested we collectively work together, the RM of the city, in getting this rock in place and it's going to be on SPC land. SPC, I understand, will be donating the land. We put the rock in place, they put the plaque on top. So I think it's a good opportunity for a joint effort, and if council's okay, we'll work with the RM on that. Councillor Clark?
Is there access for people to pull over and go look at it, or?
Yes, and that's a good point. I asked Terry Keating, the Reeve, if they would put in the approach, and then if we get about an acre of land from SBC, enough to drive around the rock and park, I think that would be sufficient. Then we're not blocking that roadway, which is pretty narrow anyway. So, yeah, good point. So he didn't think it was too much to put in an approach, and then we'll find out from SBC exactly the land, and then we can go from there. So if anyone has a huge, humongous rock in their backyard that they've maybe lost favor with, please let us know. Councillor Surrick.
I was just going to say, I remember Bert Baxter's a few years back was in the finding a rock business there, so
okay.
Not sure if they had a quarry, but they were delivering big rocks to people for this purpose, right? So.
Oh, great. So maybe we can ask Todd or Buzz? Sure.
Yeah, sure can.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, anything else under inquiries? City manager?
Nothing to add, Your Worship.
Nothing? City clerk?
Nothing, Your Worship.
City treasurer?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Okay, everyone's nice and quiet this evening. Do we have a motion to move into committee? Thank you. Councillor Frank, seconded by Councillor Cernick. Any further questions, comments? If not, all in favor? Thank you so much. We stand closed. Good evening, everyone.